So, Danielle, what the hell happened in California?
Yeah, and to your point, I don't know if I can help you make sense of it, but I can explain what happened. For anybody that doesn't know, and I've seen a lot of questions on the internet for California, residents and non-California, we're going to give a quick 5-point synopsis on what exactly happened, so you get all the information you need right away. So, first off, what happened? So, in 2020, a bill called SB 793 was passed in California and signed into law by the governor. But that bill never went into effect because cigarette companies challenged the legislation in what's known as a veto referendum. So, essentially, what they did is they were able to get enough signatures from California voters to argue that the legislation was unpopular and it shouldn't become law. And so getting enough signatures meant that the law would not take effect until it was voted on by all California voters in the next election, which was the one that just took place in November, a couple of weeks ago. So on California ballots, this referendum was known as Proposition 31. And unfortunately, it did pass. I think it was over 60% voted yes, meaning SB 793 will now become law. So that's a little bit of a history lesson for you. So what does the law ban? SB 793 bans the in-person sale of all tobacco products with some restrictions that we'll go over in a minute. So all tobacco products in characterizing flavors other than tobacco. So the legal definition of tobacco products in California includes vapor products. So that means no vapor products, cigarettes, smokeless tobacco, etc., can be sold in any flavor other than tobacco. So menthol cigarettes are included in this ban, which was a pretty big deal. And that's why the tobacco companies challenged the law in that veto referendum in the first place. The law also does not currently have an exception for products that have been authorized by the FDA, given a PMTA. So they are also banned if they're in flavors other than tobacco. The legislation also specifically bans what they refer to as tobacco product flavor enhancers, and that refers to short fill and flavor shots. So if you were hoping that that might be a loophole, they were smart enough, unfortunately, to include that, and so those are also banned.
I did just want to pop in and add kind of this layer of detail that this also bans at least 3 products that have received modified risk orders through FDA. So that will be the mint or wintergreen snus from General Snus, General Snus, and then the mint or menthol heat sticks for IQOS, which isn't currently being sold in the United States, I believe.
Right.
And then, of course, the one product that all of the anti-smoking folks have been going nuts over and totally celebrating, which is the combustible product, the very low nicotine cigarettes from 22nd Century in menthol. So once again, we're seeing state or local politicians throwing their weight around, thinking that they can outsmart or that they are smarter than the FDA, which I guess is kind of a low bar. But anyway, we'll get to the next slide and the next topic.
So what doesn't the law ban? It has an exemption for flavored premium cigars. And I believe that is defined as cigars that have to be above a certain price point and that are handmade. So they cannot be machine made. They must be handmade. It is also exempt for flavored loose leaf pipe tobacco, not roll your own cigarette tobacco, but pipe tobacco, as well as flavored hookah and shisha products. So those 3 categories are all exempt from this. All other products are only allowed to be sold if they are tobacco flavored only. The law states that the determination for what is flavored based on the marketing and packaging of the product. So flavor names, flavor profiles, or images on the product can't portray anything other than tobacco flavoring. The law also does not ban online sales. It applies to in-person brick and mortar sales only. When does it take effect? This has been a very confusing question that has not been very clear anywhere specifically, but the law will take effect 5 days after the California election is officially certified. Now, we don't know the exact date that is going to happen, because it depends on how long it takes the election people to process and certify the election. But the election has to be certified. It has a deadline of December 16th. That is the latest it could possibly happen. And then I believe 5 days after that puts it at December 21st or something. So that would be probably the latest that this would take effect, but it could be sooner.
So maybe a question that'll pop up in chat, but it's on my mind, is are retailers being given a sell-through period as in the law, or
Not
is
that I
it
am
just
aware of, no.
so just plan on enforcement starting on December 21st at the latest?
I mean, if you want to be safe, yes. Now, we all know how government and bureaucracy and things like this work. So it's hard to say. I mean, my guess would be you probably wouldn't see, a concerted enforcement effort until the new year. But do not take my word for that, and do not risk, your livelihood or your business on that. That would be my guess. But if you want to be the most safe and the most legal, you will have all of your flavored products out of your store by early to mid-December.
Yeah, I probably should have started that with also including that none of this is legal or business advice. Consult your lawyers or your trade associations, and do your own due diligence. So,
And just to reiterate, online sales are still allowed. This SB 793 does not cover online sales. If you want a tiny bit of history, the author of this bill was, his last name is Hill, I think Senator Hill. He already authored a different bill that was passed before SB 793. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but that put forth regulations for online sales. It had things in it like, the outside of the box had to have certain markings on it. It was a bunch of not guidelines, but regulations to govern online sales, but it did not ban them. So those regulations are what governs online. This flavor ban bill does not have anything to do with online sales.
So, speaking of lawyers,
final question we are going to address, which has been on everybody's mind. Is there a lawsuit challenging the passage of Proposition 31? There is. So the tobacco company R.J. Reynolds and some of its affiliates and partners have filed a lawsuit against the state of California over SB 793. However, it should be noted that RJR filed similar lawsuits with similar arguments in both Los Angeles and San Diego, and both of those failed pending a Supreme Court appeal. RJ Reynolds requested an injunction against the law while they litigate in court, which would further delay it from taking effect. However, I believe I heard on Wednesday that request was denied by the judge. I believe they are appealing, but it is not looking great for this style of lawsuit, historically. It's also important to understand that the arguments in this lawsuit are about product standards that only apply to products legally on the market, meaning ones with a PMTA or that are legally on the market pending PMTA review. So the likely best case scenario outcome, if this lawsuit was successful, would be that FDA authorized products are exempt from the ban. So I just want everybody to understand, the likelihood of this lawsuit succeeding and even if it did, what it would actually do.